Summer's gone and autumn is on the way. That, of course, in cycling means autumn classics, Giro di Lombardia and World Championships. Before we get to that, though, time to look back at the Vuelta and a first-time participant tells us what it was like to ride for 3 weeks. We talked to Fran Miholjević this week of Bahrain Victorious. First, though, time to get on with the Gruppetto and the European Championships. Lotte Kopecky gave Belgium home glory at the start of a European Championship week held in Limburg. The all-round superstar put a whopping 43 seconds into the three-time champion Ellen van Dijk over the 31-kilometre course from Zolder to Hasselt. Austria's Christina Schweinberger was third. In the men's event, Edoardo Affini came out of the Vuelta and into TT form. The popular Italian taking his first win in 5 long years, and without a doubt the most important of his career to date. As Affini was celebrating, the palace gates, or maybe the legs, were locked for Stefan King-Kung, with 9 seconds separating him from a return to the throne occupied on the last day of the Vuelta. And it was another Italian who occupied the final spot on the podium in the shape of Mattia Cattaneo. The following day there was a relatively poorly attended mixed relay. With lots of big nations missing, only 6 teams made the start list. Now, you can only beat what's in front of you, and Italy did just that. Cattaneo and Affini once again involved, this time with Elena Cecchini, Vittoria Guazzini, Mirko Maestri and Gaia Mazzetti. Germany were the closest nation at 17 seconds, with bronze medalist Belgium finishing over a minute and a half back. The weekend brought the road races, and Dutch dominance in the women's race would extend to a 6th consecutive season. That result came after breakaways and attacks had been brought back together and controlled. After a bunch sprint, Lorena Wiebes took back the European title she'd lost a year ago to her teammate Misha Bredevold. That was a hillier course. This was a flat finish. Elisa Balsamo was the beaten rider, Italy in second, and Wiebes clocking up a 90th win of her incredible career so far at the age of just 25. Despite moves from Mathieu van der Poel, Mas Pedersen and others on the cobbles, racing came back together towards the end of the men's race too. Those nations wanting a sprint tried and tried to keep up the pace, but that wouldn't deter or stop moves towards the end. But they failed too, and a bunch sprint would decide the European title. The week ended as it began in Belgium, with a home win. Tim Merlier topped off his most prolific road season ever with a continental title. That ahead of Olav Koy of Netherlands and Estonia's Madis Mikkels. So Merlier will be wearing the blue stripes and gold stars for the next 12 months. In Canada, there was World Tour racing to warm up for the World Championships. At the first of 2 races in 3 days, Michael Matthews made history. The Australian was in the bunch that brought back attackers such as Tadej Pogačar, Matteo Jorgensen and Arnaud Delis. Once the uphill sprint was launched, Matthews pulled off yet another Quebec City success. He's the only rider ever to win in the capital of Canada's French-speaking region on 3 occasions. 2 days later, the World Tour circus moved down the road to Montréal, Quebec's most populous city. This is usually the more difficult of the 2 races in terms of parkour, and it invites the climbers and GC specialists to have a go. That's exactly what happened this year, and it was like watching one of those 2024 Grand Tour stages. In fact, it was like being back at the Giro, because Rafał Majka building up the pace on the penultimate big launchpad of the race, and then Pogačar blasted off to his own planet. With 1 lap to go, the world's number 1 had over half a minute on the chasers, who included Julien Alaphilippe, Alex Aramburu, Pello Bilbao and Bart Lemon. Bilbao set about trying to reduce the gap alone, but he could only do so much for so long. It proved to be insurmountable. A different stage, but the same old 2024 season scene was acted out. Pog applying his entertaining template to finish first, Bilbao the best of the rest. That before Alaphilippe showed glimpses of his sprinting prowess from the past, taking the honours for third in the small bunch sprint behind. The road to the Worlds for some of Pog's rivals is also looking like a productive one. One of the most interesting blocks of racing is the collection of autumn semi-classics in Italy. Part world's prep, but mainly building to the final monument of the season, the Giro di Lombardia. Further south in Tuscany, Mark Hirschi attacked with 30 kilometres remaining on the way to Peccioli. It's the hilltop town where he first became the first Swiss winner of the Coppa Sabatini a year ago, and he repeated the feat this year. That despite the quality and quantity of riders in the chase group who were never able to organise properly. It was the UAE Emirates rider's fourth straight race win. And not long after that, Hirschi also went on to win the Memorial Marco Pantani to make it 5 in a row. This week's interview comes from a first-timer at a Grand Tour. A man from good cycling stock. Fran Miholjevic's father Vladimir was a professional. Fran himself has just taken on his first 3-week race, and I caught up with a Bahrain victorious rider after he'd finished the Vuelta. So Fran Miholjević, first of all, please tell me I'm saying your name right.
You are, yeah.
How's it going? Because I know that you've just done your first Grand Tour. Always a big step in anyone's career. What was your first impression of it?
Well, my teammates say it was one of the hardest Grand Tours ever, but I don't know because I have nothing to compare it with. Yeah, I think I felt quite good. I was surprised how my recovery was going. The third week I felt almost the best, so yeah, can't complain.
Excellent. I guess that's sort of the big difference, isn't it? The big change, because you've raced on the World Tour now for a couple of years. You know what it takes, you know what it's like, you know how hard it is. But having to do that 21 days in succession, I guess, is the new big discovery for any athlete.
Yeah, exactly. The good thing about it is that all of the other riders do it as well. So it's kind of the same for everyone. So everyone kind of dips in form as you go along.
Of course, you're from a cycling family. Father was a professional and very well-known one. But you came through the ranks in the cycling team Friuli, if I'm not mistaken, a really good amateur team in Italy. What was it like? Because did you feel that pressure, or were you sort of free to do your own thing?
There is some kind of pressure, I can't lie. You do have that feeling of, oh, okay, I have sort of an easier path to the World Tour than others. But then, yeah, if you use it in the right way, if you use it to your advantage and realize that you're here because you deserve to be here, I think it more helped me than it did put pressure on me, to be honest.
And what about that big result in Southern Italy? Because that was the one, wasn't it, that really sort of made you were going to make the step then down when you got that down in Sicily?
Yeah, I mean, I had that year was quite good for me. I had some good results up until that, but yeah, that was kind of the last straw. And yeah, I'm happy I could pull it off, not only because of getting the contract, but it's a professional win, so it's okay. It might not be the biggest stage ever, but at that point, it was to me it meant everything. You know, the World Tour teams were at the start. I was in Friuli. It was the only race we did with them. So to me and the team, yeah, at that point it meant really, really a lot. So yeah, it's always nice.
What is it about cycling in Friuli? Because there's quite a few big name riders who've come there in the last few years. It suddenly appeared on the map as a real place to be as an under 23.
And yeah, in these days, the under 23s, under 23 races are won by mostly development teams or World Tour teams. So it's really hard to compete if you don't have that sort of support behind you. And yeah, I think it's just the new way the sport is changing. So yeah, I think it's this new trend, and yeah, there's not much to say about it. Like I do wish there would be a bit of separation between under 23s and the World Tour, but if everyone's doing it, you have to stay competitive. So yeah.
That's interesting you say that, because everybody's talking about, you know, the future at the minute. Which way should we go? Should we, you know, professionalize it more in the youth, as it seems to be happening at the minute, or should we go back to trying to separate it? I'm just really interested to get your take on that, because obviously you then make the step up to the professional, what was it, 18 months ago now. What was that step like? Because I guess you'd already had some racing amongst the professionals, but I'm also going to guess that it was another level completely.
Like, I'm still getting used to it, getting used to the kind of racing. And the thing now is that from what I hear from a more experienced teammates, the racing before was completely different. And now it's more like junior and under 23 racing. So it's kind of easier to adapt, but also the speeds and the power is another step above. So yeah, I think today's young riders like myself get drawn into they get quite a lot of pressure from other young riders before them succeeding as soon as they step up. So yeah, it's quite tricky to balance now because you are young, you have just made a step up, but there's also quite an expectation on you already because it's not like I'll give him 3, 4, 5 years, you know. It's
Yeah.
like in 5 years I'll be 27, and then if you compare myself to some other 27-year-olds, it's like they've already made a career until they're 27.
You feel that already you have pressure to have results then at sort of 22, 23, because as you say, 27 years of age, and people like Pogačar have made a career that's been better than many others, many older than them. So,
Yeah, I mean the pressure is I just have the pressure that I put on myself, nothing else. Like the team doesn't have any pressure on me, but yeah, as myself, as I would want to win. I do want to be the best, but then yeah, you do kind of get drawn into comparing yourself with others, which is not a good thing. Is a good thing, but yeah, for sure I feel some pressure that I put on myself mostly. Yeah.
going back to that Grand Tour then, what is it now? 2 weeks almost. Oh, sorry, a week almost. I'm going ahead of time here. A week almost since you were able to finish it. What have the feelings been like when you've had a few days now to sort of, I don't know, add everything up, cross the T's, dot the I's, place it? What was the experience like on a whole?
Well, yeah, as I said, I came out of the Vuelta feeling quite good in the third week, so the recovery I wasn't as tired as I would expect to be. It wasn't like worse than any other like 1 week race I did. Yeah, I just gone started training again, and it's the thing that surprised me the most is how you leave at like you leave home and it's one time of the year, like it was full summer, 40 degrees. I came back home and it's like 15 degrees outside. Started to pulling out winter kit. So yeah, that's the one thing that how much home changes actually. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the year. Usually when you have like big goal for the season and then you do it and then you kind of get home and you have this almost sort of like what to do now, what's my next goal, and sort of lack of motivation for the rest of the goals that seem minor to the one you just done. But yeah, I don't have it this time, and I'm really looking forward to finish the season on a high, to be honest.
Okay, finishing the season on a high. You already mentioned that the most important race of the season coming up. I guess that's the Crow race. That's your home grand. Yeah, I was going to call it a Grand Tour then. For you, it must be a Grand Tour.
Yeah, exactly.
What hopes do you have for this year? I mean, you're looking at stages. What's the route like at the Crow race this year?
They're really similar as it has been previous years. So it's not super hard, but also hard enough to for some riders to make the difference. I think it will be quite an open race, which yeah suits me and the team the best. Yeah, the hopes are high. I know the route quite well, so and it's also you get an extra gear when you're racing 10 kilometers from home. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And before that, the World Championships, I guess, pulling on the national jersey, that must feel special.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't done it last year because I crashed in Poland just before, a week before, so I had to miss out. Like I said, it's not something I was like directly preparing for, but for sure I would like to use use the form I made in Volta for it. So yeah, I think I can do good.
In the World Championships, then, what are we expecting? Because obviously everybody's talking about the big names. Wout van Aert won't be there. We've seen Pogačar winning over in Canada. We've seen Mathieu van der Poel doing what he's done. He was attacking in the European Championships just a day before we're speaking. In the World Championships, what kind of race are you looking at? What do we think is going to happen?
It's kind of hard to put it past Pogačar, to be honest. Like I don't see if he's on the form he has been this year. it's really hard to see anyone beating him. So yeah, I'm gonna go for my neighbor Pogačar. To be honest, of course, it's gonna be an open race as worlds always are. But yeah, I think it suits him even better, and yeah, I think I'll go for him.
I'm glad you mentioned your neighbour Pogačar, because obviously I wonder whether to ask this or not, but how much does a success in Slovenia extend to sort of the rest of the Balkan region? Is it something that is talked about a lot?
No, it's not talked about a lot, but for sure there's sort of a positive influence it has on Croatia. Because I remember when I was junior in the category before it, most of my racing was done in Slovenia and Italy. So yeah, for there to be more races, more stronger races in Slovenia, it of course has a positive effect on the young riders. They have someone to look up to. Until I start making results, the Croatians really don't have anyone to sort of look up to and say, yeah, I want to be like him. So yeah, for sure, it has a nice positive effect.
That's nice. I'm glad you're aiming to be that rider that people are going to look up to in Croatia. Maybe with a good result in the Under-23 World Championships next week. We'll have to see. It's a difficult parkour though in Switzerland, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. I haven't gone into detail, but yeah, it looks quite let's say hilly, and yeah, it's gonna be like Under-23 races are always all out and no control and kind of chaotic, but yeah, this parkour will suit it even more, and will open up the race even more.
Okay, one final question then going forward. Bahrain victorious. Few changes next year. Lenny Martinez arriving. I'm sure other signings are going to arrive as well. What's the atmosphere in the team going forward, and what are your aims for next year? I know it's early, but I know that this one's ending quickly and things are changing.
Yeah, well, up until now, the team hasn't had the best season at all. So we're still focused on using the races we have to go to turn that around and to make to get some kind of a positive effect on the next season. You know, if you finish the season on a high, always the start of the next year is more positive. And yeah, look forward to starting the next season already. But yeah, we're still really focused on making something out of this year that we have left. So yeah.
Excellent, Fran. Well, all the best in your national tour in the Crow race. We'll be watching, and of course, I'm sure with all that you might be able to do for Croatian cycling, we'll be cheering you on as well. Thanks for speaking to us. And you'll be able to watch Fran and everyone else in action at the World Championships on Eurosport and Discovery Plus right throughout the week of celebration that is the Worlds in Zurich this year. It all gets underway at the weekend with the time trials. Before we go to the big previews and appointments that you'll need next week, tune into next week's show for that, because we'll be telling the breakaways and when you can watch everything from juniors to under-23s to elites. But this weekend we have time trials. In the comments below, we want to know who you think is going to be the new world champion for both men and women elite. Comments below for your predictions. This week, though, on the home of cycling, we have the Tour of Luxembourg. It's the last chance for some of the elite men for their preparation for Zurich, including the reigning world champion Mathieu van der Poel. In fact, Luxembourg this year probably has the best start list it's had for some time. Looking down, I can see Mas Pearson there as well on the provisional start list. Matthias Skjelmose should be there as well. Who else is around? Ayuso, he's racing yet again for UAE. Gaudu will be back in action, we think, after the Vuelta as well. Alex Aramburu making his way from Canada all the way over to Europe. He's going to be racing, as he was racing very well at the weekend, all alongside Mark Hirschi, the man in form. 5 out of his last 5 races have ended up in wins. How will he go in Luxembourg? Remember, you can join me on commentary, and the whole race is live and on demand this week. Eurosport and Discovery Plus. Check your schedules wherever you're watching around the continent. So then, the World's coming up next week. We'll have our big preview, the bumper episode next week as well. We'll be previewing the course. There'll be a recon involved, as well as a chat with a star or two. For now, though, from the Gruppetto, summer's just about hanging on. Let's hope it continues to the World's Day. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.